Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gargoyles episode reviews. Today we're looking at heritage. An ancient struggle rages on a remote island off the Pacific coast of Canada. The old ways that once kept the land fertile are falling by the wayside in the face of science. But the dark forces that seek to take over the island didn't get the memo about the power of science. As long as the people's chief refuses to take a stand against the enemy, the land will suffer. Avalon sends Elisa and the Gargoyles to straighten out the mess. But when they become separated, they find themselves on opposite sides of the struggle. What's more, it involves another Gargoyle clan, or what remains of it after the humans destroyed them. Or did they? There's a lot of tricksters at work in this episode. This last week, it was Shadows of the Past. You can read it or listen to it. Spoilers of the 2020 moments. Info from Ask Greg is in the According to Greg bits. Season 2, Episode 25, Heritage. To show the importance, reasons for existence. To show the importance of heritage. To introduce more Fae and explain some of the laws. Probably some other themes too. I don't really like this episode. There's some things that would have been an okay idea, but it's just the execution was lacking. So, here we go. Main antagonist, Raven. Times, January 4th, 1996. Location, Queen Florence Island, Canada Land. Heritage. And last week, the skiff ran into a storm, but this week we're facing a sea monster. Yeah, I kid you not. A leviathan rears out of the water and sends us into an extended aquatic fight scene. It is a really ugly leviathan, like those little tiny short arms. I don't know what's going on with that. Starting off with a bang, according to Greg, they did research on Haita legends. Alright, end result, the creature trashes the skiff. Elisa gets separated from the Gargoyles. Overhead, a yellow-beaked cawing crow circles. Is it Diaval? You know, I would love if we could get a Maleficent and Gargoyles crossover here. Goliath, Angela, and Bronx wash ashore in front of a totem pole. They're all impressed, thinking it's Gargoyles. Now, this is surprising, because Goliath is pretty well read. I guess, I would assume that he would read up on the history of the country that he's in, especially since he's been out of it for 1,000 years. Hasn't he heard references to totem poles during the year? I mean, a year, okay, that's a long time. He's been in the 20th century. And yes, real totem poles are actually quite impressive. They're very big. The crow lands on top of the pole as the sun comes up. In the native village on the island, the last family is leaving. There's no future there. And it looks like there's no tide either, because they're all built like right on the edge of the water. The chief, Nick, wishes them well. He's a scientist who's run every test he can think of on the island to figure out why it's a wasteland. And is it ever? All the trees are leafless, and there's not one blade of grass in the whole place. Well, he's got nothing. I wonder when this started, this die-off. An old woman in traditional tribal attire, and who has very pointy ears, says it's not about science, it's about sorcery. Nick has to go back to the old ways. This means going to the volcano at the island's center and battling Raven. Nick is too fixated on the science to think about this. Okay, so if he had to battle Raven, did his dad battle Raven? Or his grandpa? Like, how long have they not been battling Raven if that's a part of this island? And if they did battle Raven, wouldn't that be pretty strong in their culture? Like, each chief would say to the next that, yes, this happened, we did this. There wouldn't be any question about it. But whatever, just one of my many complaints with this episode. Alright, she totally looks like Spock's grandmother, I'm telling you. Their argument doesn't get farther, though, because Nick spots Elisa washing up on shore. Somehow, despite being unconscious in the water, she's not dead. Yeah, it's a common fallacy in a lot of these shows where people are unconscious, and yet they wash up on shore. Yet usually if you're unconscious in the water, you also are dead in the water. But maybe she had some help here. And what did Nick learn at Harvard? Eye rolling. When the Gargoyles awake that night, another winged creature greets them. He has a Garg's body, but a raven's head. Wait a minute. The old woman said Nick had to fight Raven. Is this the same Raven? He's interested in the newcomers, but they just want to find Elisa. He doesn't understand why. Humans are on his crap list because they wiped out most of his clan. Even so, he'll help them look for her. But first, they have to meet his clan. He takes a moment, though, to explain that an evil sorceress called Grandmother is killing the island. Wait a minute. The old woman in the village? Is she the villain? Or is this Raven fellow the baddie? Oh, I love it when you just don't know. See, that I did like that part. And later when the protags kind of get played against each other. In the village's longhouse, which has satellite, I might add, Grandmother is ministering to Elisa while Nick babbles about needing to get her to a hospital. He's dismissive of Grandmother's herbs and roots. You know, for being such a big scientist, he's totally forgotten that our drugs came from plants. You know, that's how we got most of our modern meds. And here they are. Gran is all about weed and shrooms. Raven takes the gargoyles to his volcano lair. Here they are flying over an active volcano. Okay, right. This will be insanely hot, but we're pretending it's not. His clan consists of 3 gargs who look more like forest critters with wings stuck on them. They make animal sounds when Goliath greets them. Raven writes it off as them being crippled by grief for their destroyed clan. Right. I don't think they could even glide with those things. The Disney forest animals? Do they sing? At the longhouse, Grandmother slaps some Vicks on Elisa's bare chest. The life flight can't get through the convenient storm. More arguing between the herbalist and the scientist follows. And there's Elisa out of it. Vicks Vapor Rub is good for what ails you. At the volcano, Goliath is explaining that protecting is gargoyle heritage. Title reference, by the way. Halftime. Yeah, see why this is one post? We're at halftime already. Moving on. Elisa recovers enough, thanks to Grandmother's secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, to stumble outside. She sees a totem pole and asks if it's gargoyles. Seriously, Elisa, is this the first time you've ever seen one of these things? I mean, you're half American Indian. I can't even. Granny says nope, no gargs lived here. Okay, how does Granny know what gargoyles are? So, you're going to tell me that she knows that, but Elisa doesn't know what a totem pole is? Nick has to put in that gargoyles and ravens are a myth. All right, for one thing, we don't have a myth about gargoyles being, well, what they really are in this series. We just are told that they're stone statues on cathedrals that are supposed to chase away evil spirits. You know, it's kind of like scarecrows, right? We don't have myths about scarecrows walking around, at least not that I'm aware of. And like I say, Raven shouldn't be a myth with the experience of the chiefs, if they all have to go fight the chief. I mean, the Raven. While Elisa bumbles around the woods, the crow scares up a bear to chase her. Bronx leaps in. Cue joyful reunion. There's the bear coming after her. Smokey's had enough of your fire crap. He's taken matters into his own paws to prevent forest fires, one way or another. Goliath says the totems are monuments to the destroyed gargoyle clan. This confuses Elisa, since Gran said that there weren't any gargoyles. Well, she would say that if she was a villain, wouldn't she? They are holding hands, Goliath and Elisa. Elisa doesn't believe Goliath's claim that Grandma is a sorcerer. As luck would have it, they stumble upon the old lady who is meditating. Then, she doesn't really look like a sorcerer. Looks fine, looks normal. Oh wait, hold up. She's just turned into a giant bird that has a face and mouth on its stomach. Nuts. It's also the ugliest thunderbird I have ever seen. Gargoyles attack, of course. Why not? Cue extended aerial battle scene. When Raven shows up, Thunder Meemaw leaves. But Angela notices that the other Gargs aren't what they seem. The Thunderbird's wings go right through them. She tells Raven that they haven't seen Elisa. They track Gran down and ask what's up. Well, she just wanted to show Nick, not Solane is his real name, that legendary creatures are real. Yeah, why didn't you do this earlier? Turns out she was also Leviathan. You know, the one that ripped up everything in the beginning. I'm not sure if she meant to attack the skiff or it was an accident. I think, though, it is clear that she helped save Elisa from the sea. And there the Gargs are in silhouette, looking spooky. Turns out that Raven wants to rule the island. I am not sure why. The chiefs have always gone up to the volcano to put him in his place. Okay, well, why didn't he just move on? Why is he somehow bound to this island? And why is Grandma there? Like, can't she put him down? She's some sort of shapeshifter. Abuelita can't act directly to convince Nick since she's a child of Oberon, and so's Raven. Again, why don't they just fight it out amongst each other, and why doesn't he go find another island to rule? What's there even to rule here? A little bitty clan? Or tribe? Whatever. See, again, there's a lot that I hate about this episode. Doesn't make any sense. Raven's real form makes him look like a large Kender, from Dragonlance. Alright, slow down. Isn't this offensive to native people? You're basically saying their spirit beings are fae. Isn't that demeaning? Or maybe it isn't. After all, what are the deities but powerful magical beings? All I know is that this ep would have not gotten past the Snowflake Network standards nowadays. Kind of like how sports teams can't use certain names like the Redskins. It's ridiculous. Elisa takes matters into her own hands. She shows Nick the gargoyles. Well, that does it. I love first expressions here. He's quite shocked. They all pack up and head to Mount Doom. Raven is amused by the boy who's come to face him. Nick wears the traditional garb and wields a shield and bone/antler axe. Raven uses a regular sort of halberd thing. There's much sparking and sparkling as the magical weapons strike their targets. Sparkle, sparkle. And what's the shield made of here? Because, Raven is hitting him with, lightning? Magic? Is it fae made? Is it human made? Meanwhile, the gargoyles fight the totem pole's animated critters. Yep, the totem pole, comes to life. Nick succeeds. Raven withdraws for the time being. Why don't you just move on, mate? But he's not defeated for good. Oh, Captain Planet to the rescue. And Grandma, she's sitting cross-legged and her hair is turning into water. Yeah, and she's also sitting in a puddle of water. This is like some weird 1970s ad for margarine. I can't believe it's not butter. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. 2020 moment. Actually, he will be moving on, since he'll be on Avalon next time we see him. And so will Grandma. So what is going to go on with this island? Is its natural state just sort of a desert island? Or is its natural state a normal green island? If both the fae just backed up and left, it's pretty much just going to revert to whatever the ambient environment and soil will put it at. Anyhow, Raven is not an evil being. He's just a trickster. So, he's the same type of antagonist as Xanatos in that regard. He's not trying to cause serious damage. He's in it partially for the kicks. I like trickster characters because it's a lot easier to explain why they don't go full throttle on the protags. Like Xanatos, he could destroy the gargoyles easily, but that's not his style. It would waste resources and kill his fun. Wouldn't want to do that. Final thoughts. Ugh, this episode just does not do it for me. How'd they get another skiff, by the way? And that crow was supposed to be a raven? Trust me, it was not. I spent many a month listening to and watching ravens. That mate is a crow. For now, for not being allowed to intervene directly in human affairs, the Fae sure did a lot of intervening today. I can only surmise it's due to a bargain they made with the humans. Fight Raven, have a pretty island. I'm not sure why this would be a thing, or why the Fae would be obsessed with the island for so many human generations, though. Oh well, we'll never know. Next week, we finally get back to New York City. And by we, I mean us viewers. We're checking in on the clan, who is freaking out since Goliath, Elisa, and Bronx disappeared. Xanatos is, of course, their first suspect. In addition to not having Goliath around, they also have to deal with the mutates. See you next time when we learn every faction has its own kingdom. Well, what did you think about this train wreck of an episode? Did you like it? Do you not like it? I know Storyteller West 2 on Twitter agrees that it's like the worst episode that there is. And there's a couple that kind of approach it, but yeah, this one is pretty darn bad. I can barely stand to rewatch it. I mean, there are, like I say, some good things, like the whole who's the villain, here idea, but it just could have been done better. All right, well, you can comment here. You can comment on the blog. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.